Hey everybody, welcome back to PathMonk Presents. PathMonk is the AI for website conversions. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in their buying journey separates you from the competition online. PathMonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50% while you keep doing marketing as usual and increase conversions by 50%. Check us out on pathmonk.com. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of PathMonk Presents. We're really excited for today's episode because we've got the head of marketing over at Assimil8. We've got Kyle Daniels on the line today. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm good, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Of course, we're really looking forward to today's conversation. So, before we get into the nuts and bolts about everything that's going on from a marketing perspective over at Assimil8, why don't you give our audience a little bit of a background in your own words? Tell us about the company and what it's all about.
Yeah, of course. So, Assimilate is, to put it in the simplest form, it's a consultancy that specializes in data analytics and AI. So, they've been going for, I think this is their 19th year now. Started by two guys.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of PathMonk Presents. We're really excited for today's episode because we've got Kyle Daniels, head of marketing over at Assimil8. Kyle, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Of course, looking forward to today's conversation. So, before we dive into the nuts and bolts of everything that's going on from a marketing perspective over at Assimilate, why don't you give our audience a little bit of a background? What is Assimilate all about? And in your own words, tell us what you got going on over there.
Yeah, of course. So, Assimilate is, in its simplest form, a consultancy that specializes in data analytics and AI. So, they've been going for about 19 years now. Two co-founders who decided they could do better and they could help people with the data. And they've grown from there. So there's probably about 27 of us now, not necessarily marketing, but in the whole company. And we deal with everything from like cloud data warehouses to building financial tracking, to building SaaS platforms. Really anything to do with data, we can come in, consult on it, or build it, or help you grow.
Interesting. I did check out the website within the services that you guys have. It's a pretty long list. So really looking to
Cool.
diving into that for sure. To get things started, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you serve? Like who is your audience? Who are the companies or industries that you work in? And what are the typical types of problems you're looking to solve for them?
Yeah, of course. So I think from a target audience perspective, I mean, you're looking at like your department heads are always an easy one. So people that are obviously in charge of something. So let's say finance department heads, they've got to make sure that the money's there and that there's money to pay for things and that they're budgeting for obviously the time ahead and making sure cash flow is always consistent. So they'll often reach out to us and look at the data because it's segmented and siloed all over the place. Different people have different things. Everyone's using different technologies to collate that data. We'll come in and we'll work with them to consolidate all in one go. So recently, there's been a lot of financial heads of, a lot of sales heads of, people wanting to get more growth. Sales has obviously changed pretty much from what it was 4 years ago. So people want to know how they can automate getting out there and reaching people, how they can understand that target audience more, that the SDRs and the researchers can then become almost account executives. So rather than them doing that initial research, they're actually then performing the sales calls and trying to get them into the next steps and stages of the process. Right the way through to, I mean, like your data analysts, IT managers, all the way to C-suite, like your CTOs, CIOs, chief data officers, things like that. So it's a pretty wide and varied, but I suppose from an Assimilate point of view, if they've got some kind of technical knowledge, always makes that conversation a little bit easier because
I can
sometimes you're
imagine,
talking acronyms and people are just going to sleep halfway through.
yeah.
It's usually anyone that's kind of in charge of something that's got a problem and it's like their head's role if it's not fixed, then they'll come to us and look for a solution.
So it seems like anyone that's really making decisions, but they need the data to be able to make these types of
Yeah, yeah.
decisions, you guys come in and help work the data in whatever way they need so that they can help make those decisions a little bit easier. And so it seems like within like let's say the audience in terms of like the types of roles you would work with, that's pretty clear. Are there any specific industries that you guys work in, or can it kind of be applied across the board? Because it seems like anyone who needs help kind of figuring out and getting more valuable insights from the data that they already have, you guys can help with that. So it seems kind of industry agnostic, but maybe you can tell me, like, are there any industries that you guys work in more often, or maybe some case studies? Maybe what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, of course. So it's probably a short list to say what industries we don't work with, but it's typically, again, anyone that's got data. So I think some of those kind of really small one-man bands that don't really deal with data, we don't hear from much. We get a lot of marketing agencies tend to come in because obviously they've got data all over the place. Certain people are using different tools and platforms to get data, and then it's how do you get the commentary over the top of it. So we work with loads of agencies whereby we'll almost like white label for a client. So we'll gather all that information, we'll then generate commentary over the top of it. So rather than saying like you did this, it's like you did this, and this is what you need to do more of it, or to improve it, or to reach out to these people. We travel management weirdly has been kind of a massive success for us. So we work with a lot of global travel management companies because again they've got travelers traveling all over the world, and they work with suppliers as well. So if you're negotiating rates with suppliers, you need to know who's booking, when they're booking, what kind of rates are available, whether people are going to be booking more in the following year. So they're going to be booking more of a certain hotel chain, so their rates are going to come down because they're booking so many. So really, I think anyone that's dealing with data, we're right there. There's certain companies like government we tend not to get involved in, and that's more too many cooks in the kitchen, and the actual sign-off process becomes quite laboured. We've dealt with things before whereby we've been on retainer and no one kind of gets the things over the line. Like they really want to do some amazing things, but it's got to go through so many people, and you just kind of sat there waiting for something to happen. We'd rather be actually doing kind of the work for people. And I think as well, like things like weaponry, gambling firms, stuff like that, we don't really get involved in that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would also imagine maybe some smaller businesses like, local service businesses, dentist's office, maybe like a local construction company or something like that. They're not really utilizing data to make their decisions on a regular basis, so they're probably not leveraging the services that you guys have to offer. And yeah, I would imagine there's probably like this sweet spot where people are really kind of coming into the 2025 and figuring out, there's so much data to be utilized, but we're not
Yeah,
kind of squeezing enough out of it. So I think that's probably where you guys fit in.
yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Speaking of the audience, I want to talk a little bit about how they find you. Like, what are you guys doing from a marketing perspective to make sure that you're pulling in more business? Are there any sort of top acquisition channels?
Yeah, a lot of our marketing is very much like winging a prayer, which completely ruins it for me. But do you know what's been our kind of most successful acquisition channel? And it's got absolutely nothing to do with me. Is a lot of it is people we've worked with. So you'll find that it's a little bit incestuous. That people work with us, work with a big company, and then they'll move on and go to another company, and they'll remember us and come back. That word of mouth thing has been incredible for Assimil8 for so long, and it actually almost had an inverse effect on the marketing where they didn't do a lot of marketing for so long. So when I joined kind of 2.5 years ago, the website was very much a landing page, and you could hover over the services, but you couldn't click on them.
Ah,
So they didn't go anywhere, which day one when you come into a company is a great thing to find out.
yeah, of course.
Um, but it also gives you that ability to kind of go like, okay, so now I have to understand what we're going out there with, go and talk to the team, and then build that. So suddenly I'm approaching it as the customer. So when I came in, it was okay, so what do I understand about business intelligence? What do I understand about cloud data warehouses or digital transformation or all these amazing services? And then go off and build that stuff. Our probably biggest acquisition now is events. So we try and do a lot of event stuff. So it's a little bit harder to go out there and I think conversate with people because we find that you probably get it as marketers where people will reach out and say, we can solve all your problems. We'll do this. We know your business like the back of our hand. And it's like, you've never spoke to us before. Like, what do you know about us? So us going out there in that same approach and being like, we're going to do all this amazing stuff. Our data is going to solve all your problems. We're going to help you grow X-fold. It can't work like that. Instead, what we do, we partner with a lot of these bigger companies like your IBMs, your ThoughtSpots, your Googles, your AWS, your Microsofts. I'll probably be missing some out and I apologize. But we'll run events with them, typically outside of London, because for the audience, there are cities outside of London in the UK. You don't always have to go to London for events. So most people will never see IBM outside of London. They won't see ThoughtSpot outside of London. So we'll go to Liverpool, we'll partner with a hotel chain there, and we'll run a full day event where we actually get IBM speakers to come and talk about how they can grow the business. We'll put on workshops. So it actually feels like you're learning something and there's some take home stuff as well. But we'll just reach out to people and it's all free. All the events are free. You don't have to pay anything. But it just means you can come and actually speak to these big unattainable companies almost. And I think if you're looking at like your IBMs and stuff, you probably think, no way we could afford that. But actually IBM's changed from that whole pale, male and stale royal blue standard that they had a while ago. Now they want to work with those smaller companies that are looking to grow because there's opportunities to come in, grow with that company, and then help them achieve more things as that growth kicks in. So we found that actually having kind of face-to-face conversations with people, helping them learn something, and then having take-homes that they can go to work the next day and start implementing some of that stuff, it almost feels like giving them something for free. And then they come back to us because if then we've put that in place, it's really worked. Actually, if we came to you guys, what could you do for us?
Sorry, say that again.
So if it's a case of if they've got something that they can take home,
Mm-hmm.
they'll implement it themselves, they'll see some growth, they'll come back to us, and then they'll say,
Makes sense.
this really worked for us. If we actually came to you guys and worked with you on this project, what could we do?
I
Because we gave
see.
them stuff for
Okay.
free.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
it's kind of like you get them thinking with some of the things that you've given them already, and
yeah, yeah.
the time they have to themselves, they're thinking, okay, how can I actually apply some of this? And before you know it, they're coming back to you thinking, okay, yeah, we did identify a problem, but maybe they didn't even think about that problem before you kind of gave them some materials in the first place.
Exactly. And not everything has to go behind a paywall. Like you don't have
Of
to
course.
obviously paywall everything off. Sometimes it's that element of they can get this information for free from anywhere. Go on TikTok and you can learn how to use Excel and get the best out of it and create formulas. Whereas it's like, well, actually, if we give you that bit for free, you'll do it yourself, but then you'll soon realize that actually, if we could automate this process,
It
or
would
if
have
I
been
could
much
actually get
easier in the
somebody
first
in,
place.
yeah,
Right.
like I don't have to spend my time doing that. I can focus on bringing the acquisitions in, as an example.
Well, that's kind of an interesting strategy. I was kind of expecting something like, we've been doing a lot of, SEO, PPC, which I'm sure you're doing some of that as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
but this event strategy and then giving them something that kind of makes them realize the sorts of problems that they might not that are actually like possible of solving. Like a lot of people think, oh, this is a task that I have to do so often, but there's no solutions out there for it. Well, maybe there actually is a solution out there for
Yeah.
it. You just didn't know about it until you kind of gave them something for free. So that's a really interesting strategy, and maybe something I'll take a hack at myself later. Moving on to the next question, I want to talk a little bit about the website
Yeah.
for you guys already. I know you were talking about when you first came on board as the marketing manager, it was kind of in a really, let's say, unoptimized place.
Mm.
But nowadays, like, what role does the website play in terms of new client acquisition? Are there still some weaknesses to the website, or what are some new strengths that you've added?
Yeah, I think from our point of view, the website almost becomes a research tool. So people can come on and learn more about it. We don't necessarily treat it as like the front end of sales, like you come on and we're trying to get you down the sales path straight away. Because chances are when they come to us, they know kind of what they're looking for if they're coming onto the site because it's the technologically minded, they're thinking about data, they're thinking about analytics or whatever it is. They'll then understand when we talk about business intelligence what that is, but it's then can we give you some research bits, so some white papers, some case studies, some success stories that give you a little bit more, and then you can start getting into that sales funnel with us. I think if we treat it as almost like we'll give you as little information as possible just to make the sale, they can go and get that information from elsewhere. There's loads of competitors out there that are much bigger than we are that have probably a 10-year head start that are doing similar things. I think from our point of view, it's adding that credibility. Do we know what we're talking about? Are we giving you more information than the stereotypical, we can help you grow, or come to us and we'll solve all of your problems and your boss will think you're great? It's actually, if you're experiencing this kind of challenge in your day to day, if this is a bit of a headache, we've done this for somebody else. Our biggest bugbear, or my biggest bugbear on the website is that we do a lot of NDA work because it's data, it's somebody's data, or
Yeah.
we'll build a platform that then becomes their like key selling point. So case in point, we work with a big travel management company. They've got a reporting tool that we built for them. And this reporting tool is like incredible. It allows you to talk to it and it'll start drilling down data that you've had forever. So if you think from an account manager, instead of doing those old 90-page slide decks and going in and boring the pants off your
Yeah, yeah,
customers,
yeah.
you go in with this almost like live dashboard reporting tool, and somebody asks a question, you go, "We'll just ask it. Like, who's our like best booker across the company? Ask it. Who's the worst booker?" It's always the CEO because they don't care. They just book whatever they want
Yeah,
in comfort.
yeah.
But then it's like, actually, if you moved all of your flights bookings to the New York office to Virgin Atlantic next year, you will save £42,000. Brilliant. Let's implement that. So it connects to their booking tool. They click a button and then that goes through, and that is a locked in process now. So anyone that books to the New York office cannot book anything but Virgin Atlantic flights.
It's interesting though that you mentioned like a lot of NDA clients, and
Yeah,
because you can't share their data, right? Because when
yeah,
we talk about like the role that the website plays in terms of client acquisition, you want to
mhm,
be able to showcase this stuff. You want to
yeah,
be able to say, here are the clients we've worked with, here are the solutions we've implemented, here are the results that they got from this type of solution that we
yeah,
created. But it seems like you're kind of a little bit handcuffed just because of the nature of what you guys are working in, because all of this data is so private and important. So
yeah.
it must kind of like make your job a little bit more difficult about how do we showcase these success stories when we're not really allowed to.
Yeah, and it's that thing of it's show. Sometimes show don't tell, isn't it? So you want to see this. We built this platform. Come and have a look at it, and imagine that in your business and you using
Mm.
it every day. Whereas actually, we're saying we've done this, and it's done this for this company, and all like the fluffy stuff that everyone talks about. Like everyone's got the best product, everyone's got the best service. It's always going to 100x your business and help you grow. But it's like, no, no, actually, we do have that. We just can't really show you. So
Mm.
sometimes it'll be a case of we'll build proof of concept. So somebody will come in and we'll say, well, actually, we can't show you that, but we could build something or we could demo something that isn't quite that. Or is if you give us your data, like we worked with a client, funnily enough, this morning, whereby we've built a front end of something whereby we can go and research, do that SDR element. We can go and research some companies in industries and figure out, are they open to working with you? So is that company in a position whereby they need your services? They're working with one of your competitors. How could you even communicate with them? Now, you need the front end to go and put that information in. The front end's not ready yet, and it won't be till May.
Right.
So they send us the data, we'll go off and do that. So we can't show it to them. If they came through the website to try and get that, they'd move on to somebody else because they can't see it.
Mm. True.
Luckily, because we know someone through somebody, they were happy to get on a call. I talked with them. I could show them some stuff that I've done, and that conversation becomes a lot easier. I can't do that on a website.
True. You're limited as to what you can
Yeah,
actually kind of showcase. That's true. So yeah, it's an interesting topic. Some people out there are happy to say, this is what we've done. These are the results. These are all our
yeah,
clients. Here are all of our logos of all the brands that we work with, things like that. And yeah, you're in a little bit of an interesting situation. So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a strength or a weakness, but maybe a challenge that you have,
yeah.
right? So yeah, you're definitely in an interesting spot there. I want to move this conversation a little bit away from Assimil8 and a little bit more towards Kyle Daniels as the marketing manager himself, and kind of look a little bit about what you think of some certain things. So, number one, PathMonk being a conversion tool, we're always interested in getting insights from our guests about what they think makes a great converting website. So maybe you can let us know like what sort of tools, tips, approaches, methods would you recommend for anyone out there that is trying to build a great converting website?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite a visual person. Like, I want to see stuff. So anytime you've got video or audio, I'm
Mhm.
there. I love seeing how kind of the background and how things are made, or even if it's just like a 30-second explain a video, like it's so much more than having to read the same thing over and over again. Um, I also quite like the figure where if I come back to a website, it remembers who I am and what I've looked at before. And I think there is some great kind of almost like chatbot style, and it's getting so much better with AI that it's understanding who I am, what I've done. I don't necessarily want to go through the whole kind of journey every time I go to a website and a homepage. Sometimes I'd like it to almost understand the intent and then send me where I need to be. Like, have I read a blog before? Is there a new blog that's similar to that I'd really like and enjoy? Take me straight to it. Because chances are I'm not going to your blog page straight off the bat. I'm not going to your service page. If you've got a new service or a product, I'm not really going to go searching for it. Half the time I'm going to go to a website because I'm going there because I want to do something, whether I want to buy something, research, learn, whatever it is. I think those sites that treat me like a returning customer and value my time and take me where I need to go are always going to have a better experience. It's a little bit of that Amazon thing, isn't it? It's like if I go there and it understands my buying things and it's my buying habits, and it's like, oh, this new thing's out. Not great for my wallet, but great for me so that I'm not randomly searching. Although it is
Sure.
frustrating when you buy a watch and then a day later it's like, oh, do you want to buy a watch? You're
Yeah,
like, I've just
here's a
bought one
different
again.
watch you might
Yeah.
like. Yeah, I
Are
just
you
spent
regretting that watch? Well, we've got an even better watch. But yeah, I think for me, yeah, nail it down. Audio visual, let me see it, let me kind of hear it, and then yeah,
remember where
value
you
my
are in the
time.
buyer's
Yeah,
journey. Yeah, like remember if you've been there, what you've done before, what you liked, and
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
provide something similar. Okay, I want to talk also a little bit about like what does an average day look like for Kyle? Like I know as the marketing manager at a company like this, you're probably filled with a lot of different daily tasks, but what does a typical day-to-day look like?
Yeah, so I think it's slightly different for us in Assimil8. So in a lot of companies, or I've experienced, sales and marketing almost kind of work alongside each other, but they've got their own
Mhm.
things going on.
Yeah.
I'm really close with our head of commercial, Rob Thorpe, and his team. We're constantly back and forth on each other to on Slack or on huddles or calls, talking about things. I'm probably more involved in the sales journey than probably I would have liked to have been years ago in marketing, because you kind of want to be like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to sell. It's not really selling, but it's like, I just want to do the creative stuff. I want to do the coloring in. I want to write
Yeah.
kind of pithy stuff. But it's like, actually, how do we talk to customers? And that's been an amazing thing of actually learning and seeing how they're interacting with customers and what questions are being asked that allows us then to create the marketing around it. I'm also quite close to our CEO, Kev Hurd. So we're constantly talking back and forth. And he's a great CEO in that he likes to hear your opinion. So downside to that is sometimes at 7 o'clock in the morning, you're on a call while he's walking his dog and he's like, I've got this great idea. And you're like, that's amazing, Kev, but let's just do these other 6 ideas first.
Yeah.
And then we'll work on that. And then it's working with a lot of the consultants. So if we're building a new platform, a new piece of technology, it's getting on with those guys. I'm the only person in the business that does marketing. There are probably people in the business that do marketing better than me, but I'm the only one doing marketing currently. So it'll be a case of it's building stuff on the website. So building new pages. Like say, we're doing a lot of events, so it's building the event landing pages, registration, things like that. Right the way through to writing content. So it might be writing case studies, kind of research papers on certain things, talking about kind of products and services that we offer, but more the challenge side of things. So writing challenge papers, right the way through to kind of video editing. We podcast as well. So there's a lot of bits and pieces there. It's a really kind of all over the place type role where 1 minute I could be traveling to Liverpool yesterday to view hotels for the next event that we're going on, right the way through to manually kind of generating data for a customer around the products and services that we're offering, to building a front end out for a new platform, to building stuff in Figma, to writing content, doing a social media. It is literally all over the place, but it's good in a sense because you're not coming in going, oh, another day, another Thursday. It's just gonna be like last time. I'm just
Yeah,
have like
it's
four
not the
blogs
same
and
thing every day because you're wearing so many different hats.
yeah, yeah,
Any given day could be totally different from the one before. So
yeah,
that's actually quite interesting. Especially when you mention you're the only one really doing marketing at the moment. I'm sure like when it comes to all of these different tasks that could potentially be marketing related, you're going to be the first person that everyone looks at. So good luck,
yeah,
good luck with that.
yeah.
In terms of how do I say? We're always looking to kind of grow, learn, stay up to date with other things that make us better marketing professionals. Where do you go in terms of kind of consuming content that's meant to kind of improve yourself as a marketing professional?
Yeah, so a lot of it. So I'm part of a lot of kind of marketing WhatsApp groups and stuff like that. So a lot of other kind of marketing managers and heads of and CMOs and stuff. And you can imagine what the WhatsApp chats are like. It's just people
Hmm.
complaining about marketing and the job, but everyone's sharing stuff. So everyone's learning things and then sharing those. And it's great. So, case like we're doing some webinars currently, and it was like, which platform do I use? And usually you Google that and you go around and you maybe listen to a podcast, but it always seems that it's usually sponsored by something, so they're always pushing you to a place. But being able to go to those groups with my peers and saying, "We're doing this. Has anyone done this?" And if they haven't done it in a group, they know someone that has. So there's loads of knowledge sharing, and it's a newer thing for me because I think in the past you almost feel like you're competing with other marketers because you always see it whenever a marketing role goes up, there's like 400 applicants for it and all the rest
Oh,
of it. And
of
I think
course.
sometimes we miss the fact that actually there are other people that know things that you don't. And if we knowledge share and share that between ourselves, we can move on to those great platforms. We can make our jobs easier. We can still see where we have frailties and where I'm not so good at certain things, but that's it for me. Is being in and around those peers.
That's
There are a lot of really good groups as well that I go to and attend who have great speakers that you follow up with afterwards as well. So that's been good.
This is interesting. It kind of is in line with a few other podcast guests we've had on recently who said something similar. So instead of WhatsApp groups, a couple other people have mentioned there's always these publicly available Slack channels that people can
Yeah.
join, right? Where you can join, and there's thousands and thousands of people that are related to a specific topic, some of which are obviously marketing related, and some are, let's say engineering related or operations or sales or whatever. And also, a lot of people have mentioned going to Reddit, which again is kind of like the
Yeah.
same idea, right? Is there someone who's ran into this problem before and has maybe posted about it already? And there might be somewhere on Reddit that I can already learn from someone who's dealt with this type of issue in the past. So yeah, I think that's a really good answer is leveraging your network and the groups that you're already a part of, whether it be through WhatsApp, like you said, or a different type of channel. So really, really good answer. Okay, we want to move on to the final section of the conversation, which is going to be what we like to call the rapid fire round. It's kind of like a short, crisp, concise answers, kind of the first thing that comes to your head. But if you really like the question, you want to go on a little bit longer, of course, I'm not going to stop you. But I'll start you off with a nice, easy one.
Cool.
What's the last book that you read?
Not so easy. So probably, like, if you're being honest, it'd be I've got an 8-year-old son, so it's probably something to do like Dogman or something like that that I've read with him. My ex-partner got me to read that dragon book. Is it Fourth Wing? Which
Yeah.
is like just porn for 14-year-old girls. But I'm a sorry to anyone that loves Fourth Wing. But I'm a massive geek, so I love graphic novels, comics, and stuff like that. So the last thing I read was the Secret Wars stuff, which is Marvel are doing now and all that
hmm
kind of stuff. So like, yeah, I have a massive collection of graphic novels and stuff that I read every
Yeah.
day.
And they're moving on to those movies as well, coming out soon. So, for
Yeah,
anyone that is caught up with the graphic novels, following up with the movies, probably sometime in the next 4 or 5 years is going to be an exciting time. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Next one. If there were no boundaries in technology, like no boundaries, I mean, like snap your fingers and anything is possible. What would be the one thing that you would want to have fixed for your role as a marketer today?
So probably for me, it'd be either something to do with outreach. So how do we get out to those right people? Because as marketers, again, we're always doing reports. We're always having those really hard conversations with the board of like, who have we spoke to? What are the leads looking like? How many people have we got in the pipeline and stuff like that? And as marketers, a lot of the job is how do we identify the right people at the right time and stuff like that. As mentioned before, it is something that we're putting in place and it's been really helpful, but that's only been because of these advantages in AI. So like not necessarily the gen stuff, but definitely the agentic stuff where it's going out there and it's learning from itself and it's going doing tasks. I mean, that's the stuff that's going to take your job. I'll be honest with you, the agentic stuff, but it's the bit that it takes anything that takes away like the monotonous crap of my job really that like takes too much time. It's really painstaking. It causes me a load of headaches. And it's not something that I can just put off. I've got to do that work. So it's that SDR research, finding who are the right people, what products and services do we have that connects with what they do, and how we can then go out and talk to them. Like if there's something that I could click a button and it just did that, I'd be all over it.
Click a
But
button and a tool can identify
yeah,
who is the best person to reach out to, what's the messaging to send
yeah,
to them,
yeah,
when is the right time to actually send that message,
yeah,
and then it can execute that all by itself.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to
Yes,
speak to
sign
Steve at
sign
two
me up.
o'clock about that thing, and he's going to sign up, and it's like brilliant. Yeah, done
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Once you guys have that created, let me know. I'll be the first one to sign up as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Okay, next question. To in the kind of like a similar idea, if there was one repetitive task that you could automate out of all of them, what would it be?
Posting on social media, hate it. Like,
Really?
I'm weirdly enough, sitting with what we do and stuff like that. As soon as I finish work, I want to throw my phone across the room and not look at it. I was talking to somebody last night and they were like, "You're a terrible text backer," because they'll text me and then I don't text first. And it's like, because I'm on it all day and I'm constantly on LinkedIn and all these other social platforms posting, and you've got to think of something good and something witty. And nowadays, anything you put out there, people accuse you of being AI.
Mhm.
So it's like AI wrote that, and it's like, no, this is how
This
we
is just
write.
me.
Like I
Yeah.
can't, sorry. Like if you put a hyphen, God forbid, put a hyphen in any piece of text, and it's like the ChatGPT police come out, and it's like, never work with these people. But it's like just being able to get the right content out at the right time to the right people. If there was something that just did that for me, and I didn't have to sit on there. And again, we see it more like X now. Like it just feels like it's the most depressing place to be, seeing people argue. And the same with LinkedIn. You can't have an opinion on LinkedIn about somebody coming in and telling you why that is a terrible thing.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's
it's
totally
like,
true.
yeah, just
So,
automate that. Don't let me use social anymore. Just automate all of it.
so managing not just the new posts that you need to go out and create, but also the posts, but also like the responses and the
All
social
of it, yeah.
engagement. Yeah, beep, done.
Yeah.
Let something else handle that. Okay, great. So we're moving on to the last question. And before we dive into it, I just want to say thank you so much for joining, Kyle. We really enjoyed having you on today. But to kind of sign things off, if you were to give yourself one piece of advice, if you were to restart your journey as a marketer today, what would be that one piece of advice?
Probably going back to that thing, use your connect with peers more. Um, I think there's that thing where you want to almost do it yourself when you come in. You want to prove yourself. You want to show that you can do it, and you take on a lot more than you should. I think building those networks, speaking to other people, understanding what you're good at and what you're not good at. When I first became a manager, delegating to the right people because I didn't want to put on people. I didn't want to build those relationships. Like I just wanted to prove that I was the right person for the job. And it doesn't do your mental health any good. You just end up, and then you end up producing really substandard work because you're trying to do everything yourself. Like anyone that's kind of starting a journeys and stuff like that, just make friends, network with people, and when they go off to other companies as well, like you've got that network, you've got those other people, you'll connect with them, you'll get invited to stuff, and unfortunately, if you ever lose your job or get made redundant, there's somewhere possibly to go. But and you'll learn so much from people. Everyone's got a different experience. Everyone's doing marketing slightly differently. Like you can learn so many amazing things, but just going out there and talking to people.
A really well said and really mature answer. And Kyle, we really appreciate having you on the show today. Thank you so much for joining. Before we sign off, why don't you give our audience just one more kind of background? What is Assimilate all about and how can they find you?
Of course, so Assimil8 is a consultancy specializing in data analytics and AI. If you've got data and you're struggling to do amazing things with it, give us a shout and we'll help you. Best place to find us is www.assimil8.com or on LinkedIn is probably the easiest just to get in touch with us.
Awesome. Thanks for the time today, Kyle. We really appreciate you.
Not a problem. Thanks so much, Kevin.